So House Bill 1167, John's going to do more explanation of that. John and I took a trip to the State House trying to understand this and the impact it's going to have. Because it's going to impact not just the city, it's going to impact the county, it's going to impact the schools, it's going to impact the trustees. There's a lot of impact here, and the state gave us 0 methods to pay for it. So fortunately, we're ahead of the curve, but we see there's potential for more coming down the pipe. So John, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
I have a few copies of the bill. If any elected officials didn't get one. Anybody need one?
Dale up here on. Here in the front.
It's really exciting to read. The interesting thing about this bill is that when I first looked at it, it looks really short, but it's not. It references several other portions of the code, so I'll try and go through that as much as I can. Understanding, of course, that we've got an attorney here who can help with that as well because it is state code. Go ahead and give me control. No, I don't have control. Switch back over to single. On the playback, change that back to split screen. There we go. Have the way to play. There we go. Okay. So I'm sure some of you have already read the law. I know that case that she had already, but requires a live transmission of public meetings that will begin July 1st of next year, and requires also an archive of copies of the live transmissions, links to any meeting agendas, minutes, and memoranda. Breaking it down, it does not apply to executive sessions, so those are still protected. And it does not apply to state educational institutions, but it does apply to state agency governing bodies as well as non-state governing bodies, including executive, legislative, fiscal, school boards with elected members, and any governing body that meets in the same room as the above. The requirements, again, are to live stream. There is an exemption if there's no internet available, which is kind of rare. But then if you don't do that, you have to tape and hold those for 90 days and be responsible for any copies that are requested by the public. Archived copies of the meetings must be held, like I said, for 90 days. And they must also link to the agenda, the minutes, and any memoranda for that meeting. The meeting notices, which we're currently not doing, must also link in their advertisement to where it can be viewed live, as well as the archives of those meetings. And then must be available for public inspection, copying, downloading for 90 days following, which currently we're already doing. If stored on an agency's data storage system, a fee can be applied under that. We're currently not using a data storage system because that would be a huge amount of money just to keep up with it. And then there are exceptions. Like I said, technical failure does not mean that the governing body cannot conduct the meeting. So for instance, we did have a technical failure with live streaming the county commissioner meeting before last because Metronet went down all over the place. So we were not able to stream out from the courthouse at that time. So if something like that happens, you're still protected. There's no, that does not invalidate any of the decisions made in that meeting. And it doesn't violate any of the public records law. However, and this is very interesting, it states right here that does not subject any person to civil or criminal liability. And that confused me because that implies that under normal circumstances, it would. But the law doesn't exactly say that, it just implies it. And that's where I leave it to an attorney to figure that one out. Because it does lie under chapter 1.5, which does have penalties for noncompliance. So I would say that probably would imply that it does apply to that circumstance. So, but I'll leave that again up to the attorney. This is what I've come basically to figure out what meetings will be included. It's a lot bigger than what I originally thought after reading through all of the various bodies that are mentioned in the law. So some of these, maybe not. I just listed them because I thought there's a good likelihood that it is. The one that concerns me the most is that it does specifically mention township boards, and I know nothing about township boards or where they are, or how they meet. But because it has to do with tax dollars, and that's what this is all about, the mayor and I discussed this at the state capitol. I called and had a long conversation with Representative Smaltz, who authored the bill, and he basically said he wants everything that has anything to do with dollars to be live streamed. And he also intended to bring it back the last session for expansion, and he didn't get a chance to, but the other senator, I believe Buck, got what he wanted, and he was a co-author on this bill. So I'm thinking that probably he'd bring it back up next session and expand it further. He pretty much promised me he would. And then, taking that into consideration, that's what this comes from. So I already had a conversation with the library board, by the way, and the director over there. They thought they were exempt. I said, do you use tax dollars? And they said, well, yes. And I said, odds are you're going to be included in this. So that's pretty much what I've come up with so far as who's included. Then Michael King, the IT director for the city and county, and I worked together, and we already pretty much came up with a way to link to the minutes, memoranda, as well as the agendas for the meetings. So to start with, immediately I started adding the agendas to the YouTube videos when we stream live, and that way they're accessible instantly, but they're also available on the website, which is connersvillecommunity.com. And that will be for all meetings eventually. But right now we've just created this table that allows us to do that. The only downside to this table, again, I need to discuss that a little bit, is that it does not fill itself in. Everything on there is manually created using internet tables and HTML coding. So it's slow to get it to look like that. It looks nice, but it takes a while to get it there. And then this is our YouTube channel now. The TV3's been doing for a long time, so we're pretty much ready to go as far as live streaming and archiving. So long as Google leaves it alone. And that's always a concern. Because if Google changes their mind and starts to charge for it, well, then we're in trouble. We have to figure out how to deal with that. And that's pretty much the whole presentation. Any questions? I hope not. Okay, yes.
Who's putting the bell around the cat's neck? I mean, who's watching over all this? Suppose the county can't afford any of this, and they go ahead and do business. The public don't know. Who's watching?
Well, there's two people I would worry about. One is the state government's watching. We already discussed that. The state says that non-compliance they'll take on a case-by-case basis. What concerns me the most is someone in the community that sees that you're not compliant and sues. That concerns me the most.
So if the public don't know, we're not named Rebel.
The public knows. We just told them.
Do we know how many people
We're
are
live.
watching our telecast?
Oh, we could have them call in right now, but I would guess quite a few. Typically, a city council meeting brings in 75% viewership, so we're talking a few thousand people. So I can give you YouTube numbers. Cable, I don't know, but I know the stats. So, yes.
Will there be a grace period? Or
July 1st, 2025. We're in the grace period. Which is why we've already started. That's why Michael and I already started working on compliance for agendas, things of that nature that are online. Because I want us up and running well before July 1st to get the kinks out. I mean, like I said, we do this all the time, so we know how to produce meetings. Cranking up to the number of meetings that they're requiring, that's a different story. We have to figure that out because there's only two of us, Justin and I.
That's the real problem we're facing, because we're trying to figure out how do we want to continue providing the services we provide, but they've also now included a whole bunch of new meetings. And case in point is we have a meeting in here, next Thursday, and I have a meeting in my meeting room over here because we got to record them both, but they're going simultaneously.
Both
So
of
it
which
makes
will
it
be
very,
required under this bill.
yeah, so it makes it very challenging. Now, fortunately, John said our equipment we upgraded. We took our ARP dollars and upgraded our equipment. We saw early on, we knew after COVID that everything, technology was not going to change on meetings. So we went ahead and invested the money into it. We upgraded all of our cameras, our TVs in the conference room. We just took the initiative. Glad we did, because now we don't have to take that initiative. But most communities across the state have not, and they don't have a way to do it. So it's a struggle. We talked about it at Mayor's Conference a lot, and they're still trying to figure it out. The answer we come up with is we showed them the numbers, we showed them the cost, we showed them our budget, city budget. We showed them everything, like, we don't know where we're gonna do this, and their answer was, you'll figure it out. That's the answer we get, which is uncommon. I've heard that a lot from state legislators. It's starting to get really annoying. I shouldn't say that, but it's getting very annoying. So that's why we want to bring it to everyone's attention, because we have some money tucked away in savings. Ron's been very frugal. We don't like to use that money. We like to use it for equipment purchase and different things. But that's only going to last for so long, and we got to find a way to fund it. The problem is now we have to find a way to fund it, and now we're being mandated to fund it. So that's going to be the other issue. So even with the schools, we've been talking, how do we cover the games? That's a big draw to our community as we do live stream our games. How are we going to do that now? Because all of our focus is going to be on that. So it's going to be, I don't know what this looks like. That's why I wanted many minds in this room, and everyone can talk about it. I don't care if you're an employee or not. You got a good idea, I want to hear it. Because we're trying to find a way to do this. TV3 is a very valuable resource that we are very fortunate to have. And we are ahead of the curveball. I even try to get state legislators, the authors, to slow down on the bill and use us as a model, a test, to see how you can implement it in a small community. Wasn't even interested in that, were they? They're just like, nope, this is what we want, get it done, get it done.
I do want to point out too, I didn't put it up here, but this bill passed almost unanimously.
Yeah.
They presented it as you know, public, open, and they love transparency. And they especially love it when we're transparent. So they like to make us transparent.
I love the transparency. That doesn't bother me. The problem is they're forcing on us without helping us offset the cost. And they know there's a significant cost.
So, as part of the streaming platform, we're gonna have to have a common platform everybody operates on. Do we have to make it available for public comment through the
No.
legislature?
No public comments required, just public access, which is what we have currently.
Right, that's good.
Yes.
How many additional employees will you need?
How many what?
Additional employees will you need?
I don't know, what I'd like to have is an expansion of my part-time budget. Currently, I think I've got 8,000 annual in there, which I try not to touch right now, because we're not needing it. But that's what I'm looking at, is part-time addition, rather than full-time. Yes.
I'd recommend maybe contacting some of the colleges and see if they have students that would want to do some internship.
We work with them
hours.
already, and we work at the high school a lot. So it is possible for us to pull from there. As a matter of fact, we already do. So we have a list that we pull from now. Is there somebody else?
Where you need extra equipment?
The one that worries me the most, again, is the county. That one's way out of date. It still functions. It worked today. It didn't work, 2 weeks ago. So, but eventually it will fail. So what we're looking there is we're going to need to invest $10,000 to $12,000.
You need that thing real strong.
Pocket
Well,
change.
this one,
this was coming.
that's what happens when you sit in the front, Dan.
Yeah.
Is
That's
there a way
what-
you can, like, the subscriptions and all that stuff, charge for the,
No,
no?
no. The law specifically says it must be available for
Free?
free. Yes, no.
And they make it more complicated for us every time we turn around.
Yeah.
We've asked every question possible we can think of, and the answer we got was no, no, no. So that's why we're bringing to everyone's attention. The more minds thinking about this helps us get a better result. We have to comply. I'm not going to go not comply with the state law, that's for sure. We just got to figure out how we're going to.